Have you ever wondered how cells generate energy and what this has to do with cancer? Well, let's dive into the fascinating world of cell metabolism and explore two key processes: aerobic respiration and glycolysis. Picture a bustling city. This city is like a cell, and its power plants are the mitochondria. In normal cells, these mitochondria are responsible for a process called aerobic respiration. Think of it as the city's main power grid, efficiently generating energy from glucose, a type of sugar, in the presence of oxygen. This process produces a significant amount of ATP, the cell's energy currency. But what happens when the city's power grid can't function as it should? That's where glycolysis comes into play. It's like the city's backup generator kicking in to produce energy from glucose without requiring oxygen. It's less efficient, producing less ATP than aerobic respiration, but it's a lifesaver in low oxygen conditions. Now here's where things get interesting. Cancer cells, those unruly rebels that they are, have a peculiar metabolic behavior known as the Warburg effect. Instead of relying primarily on the city's main power grid like normal cells do, they tend to rely more heavily on the backup generator, or glycolysis. This metabolic shift allows cancer cells to rapidly divide and proliferate, even in low oxygen conditions. So why would cancer cells choose the less efficient route? Well, while glycolysis produces less ATP, it does so quickly. This rapid energy production supports the fast-paced growth and division that is characteristic of cancer cells. And because glycolysis doesn't require oxygen, cancer cells can thrive even in the low oxygen conditions often found within tumors. In essence, while normal cells are like a well-planned, energy-efficient city, cancer cells are more like a chaotic boomtown, growing rapidly and consuming resources at a high rate. They exploit glycolysis to fuel their relentless expansion, regardless of the oxygen availability. So there we have it. Two ways cells can generate energy: the efficient aerobic respiration and the less efficient, but versatile glycolysis. This metabolic shift allows cancer cells to rapidly divide and proliferate, even in low oxygen conditions. Next, let's explore the power of fasting and how it can potentially impact these processes. Now let's delve into how fasting can potentially affect this energy generation process. The deliberate restriction of caloric intake, known as fasting, can potentially take advantage of the differences in energy metabolism between normal cells and cancer cells. When we fast, our bodies begin to break down fats to produce ketone bodies, an alternative source of energy. This metabolic shift is something that normal cells can adapt to reasonably well. They can switch from using glucose to using these ketone bodies, thereby preserving their energy levels even when glucose is scarce. However, the story is different for cancer cells. Remember the Warburg effect? Due to their peculiar metabolic behavior, cancer cells heavily rely on glycolysis, a process that derives energy from glucose without the use of oxygen. This means they have a high dependency on glucose to generate energy and proliferate rapidly. So, when glucose becomes limited during a fasting period, cancer cells struggle to switch to using ketone bodies for energy. This can lead to metabolic stress and potentially slower growth in cancer cells. By understanding these mechanisms, we can see how fasting may be leveraged as a complementary approach to cancer treatment. It's like setting the stage in favor of normal cells, providing them with an alternative energy source, while turning the tables on cancer cells, reducing their preferred energy supply. Fasting can potentially create an environment that is more favorable for normal cells while stressing cancer cells. Fasting is not without its potential benefits and considerations. It can potentially sensitize cancer cells to conventional treatments like chemotherapy and radiation, enhancing their effectiveness. Yet, it's vital to underscore that fasting should always be undertaken under the guidance of healthcare professionals and in conjunction with traditional cancer therapies. Ongoing research is investigating the potential of metabolic therapies, such as ketogenic diets or calorie restriction, as adjuvant approaches to cancer treatment. While fasting and metabolic therapies are not a cure-all for cancer, they provide valuable insights for those fighting this disease. Remember, knowledge of cell energy generation and fasting's potential impact is power. By working closely with their healthcare team, cancer patients may be able to leverage these mechanisms as complementary approaches to their treatment plan. Don't miss any update on this topic. Subscribe and like.